Guys, what makes a great niche house? Some brands try to create emotion, some take inspiration in their heritage, and I think a lot of answers reside in this little brand of Mantova called Rubini. What I love with Rubini from the start is that they have a foot in the past, but they look firmly toward the horizon. In fact, this philosophy is embedded in the logo of the brand, with this R split in two. Over the years, discovering the brand and talking with their artistic director Andrea Rubini taught me one important thing. It's possible to create a bridge between the vintage perfumery I deeply love and a more contemporary vision of the fragrance. And this philosophy of creation is still there in the latest release L'Eau Très Mer, because it's not just another marine scent. This fragrance is a culmination of a philosophy that has been shaping the brand for more than 10 years and is a clear result of that artistic dialogue between Andrea and Cristiano Canali. Today, we're going to dive deep into why Rubini must be one of the most fascinating creative projects of contemporary perfumery. And we'll even have the pleasure to hear from Andrea Rubini himself during this video. So, before starting, if you like that kind of content, please like and subscribe to the channel, this really helps. But who is Andrea Rubini? Andrea Rubini was born in a family with deep roots with the perfume industry. They used to own the oldest and biggest perfume shop in Verona and distribute fine perfumery brands all over Italy, such as Guerlain. Today, he still owns with his sister the main perfume shop in Mantova that I suggest you to visit if you go to Mantova. And why Andrea created Rubini? He realized while going to Aix and Pitti for his boutique and to look for new brands, that those new brands were always arguing having the best raw material, producing the most precious perfume, but he quickly realized that it was not really true. And I think a lot of the creation of Rubini is linked with that research of authenticity and that question on, I can do it for real, why wouldn't I? But I think the best way to get the intention behind the creative process of Rubini is to ask the man himself. Andrea, what's your intention behind the creation of Rubini?
Our way to create is just about the haute perfumery. So haute perfumery is about quality, is about composition, is about technique, okay? And for me, is to push everything to the highest level, but in a new way. Conceive the luxury, okay, not in the weight of a cap, but conceive in the quality involved inside and time involved.
After hearing that, I think there is another detail that we need to mention about Rubini. Rubini is not only the creativity of Andrea Rubini, it's also the creative dialogue between him and the perfumer that did all the creation since 2015, Cristiano Canali. From the start of the brand, they decided to go together on an adventure and to expressing their vision on perfumery together through Rubini's artistic project. There is two choices you have when creating a perfume brand. You could ask different perfumers, such as Frédéric Malle, to do what they are the best doing for your brand. Or you could choose one only perfumer to express different idea with his own style, and this is exactly what Rubini did. Andrea, I wanted to ask you, what brings you and Cristiano together?
Cristiano suggests me to create something mine. From one part, there's the idea of making something different, and from the other part, there was a kind of feeling with Cristiano because we immediately found in each other the idea of believing a kind of perfumery so brave, so different, so courageous, but just in the beginning sharing the passion for it.
What fascinates me when smelling Rubini is that you can definitely smell that creative dialogue between Andrea and Cristiano. Nothing is repetitive. Every Rubini explores a new world, and I feel that even though they're so different, there is something unmistakably Rubini in all the creations. Now that we talk about the creative process and the vision, let's talk a bit about the creations. The first creation of Rubini was Fundamental. It's a creation that talks about the first perfume shop that the grandfather of Andrea Rubini had in Verona. This smells like a neo-fougere, really interesting, with some green fougere notes, citruses, but with that really strange wine vibe and that animalic beeswax facet. While being really interesting and I respect it for that, I never really could get into that creation. And for the spoiler, they are currently working on a version 2 of it that actually I do prefer. So I'll wait the version 2 before talking about Fundamental. The second creation I want to talk about is Odenaturae. This one I like a lot more. Odenaturae is a love letter that Andrea Rubini did to his wife. For the record, the wife of Andrea owns a flower shop in Mantova. So if you go there in the center, the cute flower shop, it's hers. And it's a really poetic yet green, refreshing spring in a bottle perfume, and I think it's a really beautiful one. And hope when I get a bottle to do a full review of it. I'm gonna skip Idilios and Hyperion today because I don't know them that much. I'll talk of Nuvolari with this beautiful packaging, and Nuvolari because it's the juice inspired by that racer, Italian racer. For the record, every Italian kid in the 60s, 70s wanted to be Nuvolari because he was so cool and famous. And this juice is so Rubini for not only smelling like a perfume, for smelling like the gum on the ground, smelling like the hair that passed through when you put your head out of a car, when it's go fast. It's really smelling like gasoline, like mechanics, like metal. And that's why Nuvolari is so famous. Another one that's really close to my heart is Tambour Sacré. Tambour Sacré is a perfume that I really needed time to get into because what you get is a beautiful thick tuberose. It's 6% of Mysore sandalwood. It's orange. And there is that burnt coffee in the background. This juice is immense, and after 3-4 hours gets a bit sweet for me, but it's one of the most generous Rubini. You definitely need to smell this to understand what the goal of the brand. But now let's talk about today's subject, and today's subject is L'Eau Très Mer. Where does L'Eau Très Mer fits in that whole collection? I'll start by letting Andrea say a few words about L'Eau Très Mer.
Fragrance that represent me very well in this moment, in the exactly moment. And I'm very proud of it. So L'Eau Très Mer promise to you kind of adventures that only the sea can allow you to live.
When you spray L'Eau Très Mer, you immediately transported in the shoes of the Commandant Cousteau. You feel like coming up to the surface, sitting on your boat, pouring some rum in a glass and starting to smoke the pipe. You also feel the diving suit on you still wet from salt, slowly starting to dry with that fresh breeze, that sea breeze, really salty, and that bright luminosity of being traveling on the seas. And in the same time, you also really link with the typical masculine perfumery, because there what you have is a top of saltiness with fruitiness. There is for sure pineapple, jungle essence that was included in the mix. You have that weird plasticky thing also suggested by the cashmere that's in the composition. And you have that vetiver, that really green vetiver, and I know there is a lot of vetiver in the composition, that just really give height and bitingness to that perfume. It's evocative, and in the same time it's so easy to wear. You definitely smell that moment where you watch the horizon, and that moment where you question yourself, what's my next adventure, while keeping a really simple structure, while really keeping a really readable structure. And I think that's why L'Eau Très Mer is a success. It's not an overly complex perfume, and while being simple, it definitely keeps the concept of what a Rubini perfume is. For me, L'Eau Très Mer is not a typical marine scent because it doesn't have that base of cologne. It's really that recurrent theme in all the Acqua di Gio, in Acqua di Sale, and that smell a bit eggy and humid, and that you actually can find in Hyperion, which is about traveling in the space. This is a more green and dry and smoky scent that really tells about being on the sea rather than in the sea. Your skin is drying, it's not still wet, you're not swimming. And I also think that's what will make a lot of people like it, because a lot of people are repulsed by the classical aquatic scent like Acqua di Scandola, Acqua di Sale, and more. And I think this is the perfect link for them to finally have something to wear in the summer. What I could tell, if comparing to another perfume, I feel that this Rubini was made in the same way that some zoologist perfume are made, and I'll take the example of squid. A few elements, really evocative, straight to the point, and a result that is appealing but still keeps an imaginary inside. And this tells also about the philosophy behind Rubini. Rubini is definitely linked with the history of perfumery. It's linked with the past. It's linked with those aquatic scents. But while looking the future, they try to express those ideas that were great, but in a new way. And that lets me think that L'Eau Très Mer is another quintessential Rubini. I don't have the packaging today of L'Eau Très Mer, but the packaging is also really Rubini. As you could see, every packaging is handmade, often hand-painted. But for L'Eau Très Mer, he went fully in the concept and developed a packaging with a Spanish university that if you put it in the water, being bio-derived, it will melt and it won't hurt the ocean. And this is the sense of detail and authenticity that Rubini always keep pushing for the beauty of the gesture. To conclude this video, I'd like to show you a few words Andrea had on the more personal intention behind Rubini, and this is what he said.
Try to find my place in the world with the brand.
It's beautiful to see Rubini in an industry obsessed with trends, proving that sometimes originality doesn't come from chasing the future. It can simply come from understanding the past so well that you can reinterpret it and create something new. L'Eau Très Mer is not just another perfume that was released this year. It's the beautiful crystallization of a vision, of a philosophy, built on 10 years between Andrea Rubini and Cristiano Canali. And the question when he started the video was, how do you create a good niche brand? And I think Rubini is definitely an answer. Thank you so much if you watch until the end. If you like that kind of video, please like and subscribe. I had a lot of fun doing this one, and I hope to see you in the next one.